You stepped into the warm bath, letting out a sigh, hoping the water would calm you. You hadn't imagined life would be like this, waiting, always wondering when your husband would come home. You stared at the ceiling, the warmth of the bath was slowly easing your muscles. Still, your thoughts kept drifting to Jungkook. What if something went wrong while he was away? What if he didn't come back? The mansion felt so quiet without him, and the emptiness made the worry grow inside you. You trusted him, of course, but it was hard not to think about the dangers that came with his life. He had promised you he would always return, but what if something happened this time? What if this mission was different? It had only been 15 days since you married Jungkook, and everything still felt unreal. You hadn't expected to marry a mafia boss, but now you were living in this huge mansion. At first, you thought life with him would be scary or cold. You had heard stories about him, how powerful and dangerous he was. But to your surprise, Jungkook wasn't like that with you. He was kind and gentle, always looking out for you, even if his world was full of danger. Tonight, you decided to take a hot bath to relax. The mansion felt too big and empty, especially since Jungkook had left a few hours ago. He had to go on a mission, something urgent. You didn't know much about what he did, and he didn't tell you the details. All he said was, "I'll be back soon," before giving you a quick kiss and rushing out the door. You had tried not to feel disappointed. After all, you knew his work was important, but being left alone so often was harder than you thought it would be. This mansion, though beautiful, felt so cold and lonely without him. You tried to shake off the worry. He had promised he would always return, and so far he had, but the silence of the house made it hard to ignore your fear. It was strange, really. You hadn't known Jungkook for long, but in just 2 weeks, you had gotten used to having him around. When he was with you, everything felt easier, safer. Now that he was gone, the emptiness of the house weighed on you. Hours passed, and the water in the tub began to cool. You hadn't even noticed how long you had been sitting here. The warm bath wasn't comforting anymore, but you were too tired to move. You rested your head on the edge of the tub, trying to keep your eyes open, but the sleep consumed you. As you drifted off, the last thing you thought of was Jungkook, his deep voice, the warmth of his hand when he held yours, and how safe you felt when he was near. You hoped that when you wake up, he would be back and you wouldn't be alone. As you drifted into sleep, memories from the past began to flood your mind. It wasn't long ago when you first met Jungkook, and yet it felt like a lifetime. Everything had happened so quickly, but you remember it all as if it were yesterday. It started with your father, who had always been a careful man. He wasn't one to make reckless decisions, especially when it came to you. He had hired Jungkook some time ago, trusting him with important business matters, dangerous things you weren't fully aware of. You didn't know much about the world your father was involved in, but you knew he trusted Jungkook completely. That trust was why, when your grandmother fell ill and her last wish was to see you getting married, your father had turned to Jungkook. You remember the day your father first brought up the idea of marriage. You had been sitting on the couch sipping tea when he approached you with a serious expression. "Ryan, there's something I need to discuss with you." You looked up surprised. He barely sounds serious when he's with you. "What is it, Dad?" He hesitated for a moment, then sighed, sitting down across from you. "You know your grandmother isn't doing well. Her health is declining fast." Your heart sank. You knew your grandmother's condition was serious, but hearing it from your father made it feel more real. "I know she doesn't have much time, does she?" He shook his head. "No, and she has one last wish. She wants to see you getting married before she passes." The weight of his word hung in the air. Marriage. You hadn't even thought about it yet. You were still trying to process everything happening in your family, and now this. I don't even know who I would marry." Your father took your hand in his. "I know this is sudden, but there's someone I trust, someone I know will take care of you no matter what." You frowned confused. Who? At that moment, the door to the living room opened and Jungkook walked in. He was dressed in his usual dark clothes, his expression serious but calm. You had seen him around before, working with your father, but you never imagined he would be a part of this conversation. Jungkook, please have a seat. Your eyes met his and you were confused. You knew your father likes him, but you never thought the liking would go to this extent. He took a seat beside your father. Why, this is John Jungkook. I don't think I need to give any introduction because you've already seen him. I trust him and worked with him so many times, and I know he will keep you happy and protect you. Your father stood up, giving you a quick look before walking out of the room, leaving you alone with Jungkook. The air felt heavy with unsaid things. You stared at the floor for a moment before glancing up at Jungkook. My father, he's always so concerned about my safety. He thinks that's the most important thing, but what about me? I don't just want to be safe, Jungkook. I want to be loved. There was a hint of frustration in your voice. Jungkook's eyes softened and he leaned forward slightly. His voice was quiet but sincere. I understand. You looked at him. Your frustration was still there. Do you? Because it feels like this whole thing, this marriage, is just about protection. Like I'm just someone my father wants to keep locked away, and now you're supposed to be the one holding the key. Jungkook was silent for a moment, and then he spoke carefully. His tone was thoughtful. Your father is worried, yes. He wants you to be safe, but Ryan, this isn't just about protection for me. You raised an eyebrow, waiting for him to explain. I asked for this. I spoke to your father about this marriage. It wasn't just his idea, it was mine. I have admired you for a long time, but I never thought I would get the chance to say anything. When the opportunity came up, I took it. You blinked, trying to process what he was saying. You asked for this? Why? Jungkook looked down for a moment, as if gathering his thoughts before meeting your eyes again. I have seen you before, at meetings, in pictures, and I always thought you were different, strong, kind, and more than just someone who needs protecting. I didn't just want to protect you, I wanted to be close to you. His words took you by surprise. You had never imagined that Jungkook felt anything for you beyond duty. He had always been distant, a figure working quietly in the background, but now it all felt different. I don't want to just keep you safe, Ryan. I want more than that. I want you to know that this marriage isn't just an arrangement for me. I'll protect you, yes, but I'll also make sure you feel loved. That's important to me too. You stared at him, trying to find the right words. I don't want to feel like this is something I'm being pushed into. I want to choose love, not have it chosen for me. I get that, and I want you to feel like you have that choice. I'm not asking you to fall in love with me right away, but I'm asking you to give me a chance. I promise I'll do everything I can to make sure you don't just feel safe, you'll feel wanted too. He said softly, and you could feel something in your heart. His words were careful, but you could see the sincerity in his eyes. He wasn't just saying this to ease your worries, he meant it. And for the first time, you felt a small flicker of hope. Maybe this wasn't just about protection. Maybe there was a chance for something more between you and Jungkook. You nodded slowly. Okay, I'll give you that chance. Jungkook smiled softly, a rare expression that made him look warmer, more approachable. That's all I'm asking for. Jungkook came home exhausted. His body felt heavy with the weight of the night's events. The mission had been an emergency, but thankfully things had been handled in time. Still, all he could think about now was getting home to you. The house was quiet as he walked in. His mind was already settling on the thought of seeing you after being away for hours. He went straight to your bedroom, expecting to find you there, but when he opened the door, the room was empty. His brows furrowed in confusion. Where could you have gone? It was late, too late for you to be wandering around the house. Jungkook looked around the room again, and that's when he noticed the soft glow of light coming from the bathroom. The door was slightly open and the lights inside were dimly lit. He walked towards it, curiosity and concern mixing in his mind. Quietly, he pushed the door open, and the sight before him made him pause. There you were, asleep in the bathtub, the warm water surrounding you as your head rested peacefully against the edge. The steam from the bath had fogged the mirror slightly, giving the room a soft, hazy glow. Jungkook's heart softened at the sight of you, completely unaware that he had come back. You looked so peaceful, so serene, but the sight also filled him with a gentle concern. He hadn't expected to find you like this, asleep in the bath, vulnerable and alone. He stepped closer, his movements were careful so as not to startle you. Kneeling beside the tub, he reached out, brushing a few strands of hair from your face. His touch was light, but enough to make you stir slightly in your sleep. Jungkook let out a soft sigh. He forgot his exhaustion for a moment as he watched you. You had waited for him, even though he hadn't asked you to. The weight of everything he had been carrying faded as he knelt there, his eyes never leaving your sleeping form. Ryan, you shouldn't fall asleep like this, he whispered softly, leaning a little closer. He carefully dipped his hand into the water, feeling how it had started to cool. You shifted again, slowly waking up as his voice and touch brought you back to reality. Your eyes fluttered open, still hazy from sleep, and when you saw him standing over you, you blinked in confusion. Jungkook, you are back. He nodded, a small, tired smile playing on his lips. Yeah, I'm back, but you shouldn't sleep in the bath like this. You sat up a little, suddenly realizing where you were. The bathwater had lost its warmth, and a shiver ran through you as the cool air hit your skin. I must have dozed off. Jungkook reached for a towel, holding it out to you as he kept his eyes on your face. Come on, let's get you out of here before you catch a cold. You took the towel, feeling slightly embarrassed. I didn't even hear you come in. I figured. I checked the room and when I couldn't find you, I got a little worried. He said softly, helping you as you stood up. You wrapped the towel around yourself, grateful for the warmth it provided. I didn't mean to worry you. I was just waiting for you and I guess I got too comfortable. Jungkook's expression softened as he reached out, brushing a thumb along your cheek. You don't have to wait for me, you know. I'll always come back to you. His words were simple, but there was something deeper in his voice, something that made you feel safe but also cared for. You nodded, smiling softly at him. I know, I just didn't want to be alone tonight. Jungkook's gaze lingered on yours as he gently pulled you into his arms, his chin resting on top of your head. You won't have to be, I'm here now. Jungkook gently wrapped the towel around you, guiding you out of the bathroom and into the warmth of your bedroom. He didn't say much as he helped you sit on the bed. His actions were careful and full of unspoken care. You could feel how tired he was, but also how relieved he seems to finally be back with you. He sat beside you, resting his hand lightly on your back. The silence between you was comfortable, but there was something lingering beneath it. You couldn't hold it in anymore, the way you had felt these past few hours while he was gone. You're always going somewhere, you said softly, breaking the quiet. And when you're not here, this house, it feels so empty. I feel so alone sometimes. Jungkook looked at you, his eyes were filled with concern. I know, but I don't want you to feel that way. I hate that you are here waiting for me, worrying about whether or not I'll come back. You shook your head, not wanting to make him feel guilty. It's not your fault, Jungkook. I knew what I was getting into when I married you. I didn't expect it to feel like this. I didn't realize how much I would miss you when you're gone. Jungkook's expression softened and he reached for your hand, holding it between his warm palms. I miss you too, he admitted. His thumb was rubbing soothing circles on your skin. Even when I'm out there, no matter what I'm doing, I'm always thinking about you. I hate being away from you, but I have to do it. It's not easy. I know, but sometimes I wonder if I'm just someone you protect, like it's your duty. Jungkook frowned at that. His eyes were searching for yours. Why? No, it's not like that. Yes, I'll protect you. But I married you because I want to be with you, not because I have to. You felt your heart swell at his words, and you leaned into him, resting your head on his chest. His arms came around you, holding you close, and for a moment you just stayed like that, finding comfort in the steady beat of his heart. I just don't want to be someone you have to take care of. I want to feel loved. You said quietly. Jungkook pulled back slightly. He lifted your chin so your eyes met his. You were loved by me. I don't think I've ever told you that properly, but I love you, Ian. It's not just about protecting you, it's about being with you. I want to share everything with you, my life, my thoughts, everything. His words made your breath catch, and for a moment you didn't know what to say. You had waited for so long to hear him say those words, and now that he had, you felt an overwhelming sense of relief. I love you too. You whispered as your voice was barely audible, but Jungkook heard it. His lips curved into a soft smile and he leaned down, brushing his lips against yours in a slow, gentle kiss. The kiss deepened and soon the tension in the room shifted. You could feel the warmth of his body, the way his hands moved tenderly over your back, pulling you closer. The weight of the past few days, the loneliness and the worry melted away as his lips moved against yours with an intensity that left you breathless. Jungkook pulled you onto the bed, his arms never leaving you as he pressed soft kisses along your neck, his hands exploring your body with a tenderness that made your heart race. There was no rush, just the two of you wrapped in the quiet intimacy of the moment. You felt safe, cherished, and more loved than you ever had before as his touch ignited something deep inside you. He paused for a moment, his forehead rested against yours, his voice low and soft. Are you sure? We can take our time. You nodded, cupping his face gently in your hands. I'm sure. I want to be close to you, Jungkook. I need this. With that, Jungkook kissed you again, deeper this time, and everything else faded away. The world outside didn't matter anymore. Just the warmth of his body against yours, the way he held you as if you were the most precious thing in the world. The night was filled with quiet whispers, soft touches, and the deep connection you both had longed for. Every touch, every kiss was gentle yet filled with passion, as if Jungkook wanted to show you just how much you meant to him. Hours passed like moments, and when the intensity of the night faded, you lay beside him, tangled in the sheets, your head resting on his chest. His arms were wrapped around you, holding you close, and the silence between you felt complete, like you both understand each other without needing words.